Good evening, and it is Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B. It is go time.
Here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Biting by Jeremy Smokin.
All right, it is Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B. I have my guest Shannon G. I'm hoping a couple more pop in. But that being said, let's get into it. Mark Davis supports Josh McDaniels as head coach, and my only question is why?
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, he sucked at Denver, so why would you hire him to be a head coach somewhere else? That's just I don't understand that. Mark Davis, I mean, his father was a better GM, but I mean, in his later years, he wasn't this. I just don't. Other than I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope somebody pops in and can give you more information about it. But I got friends that live down here with me that are huge hardcore Raider fans, and I wish I could invite them to come here. And I'm sure they'd love to talk about it, being Raider fans. That myself, the thing I can relate to is I remember Bo Jackson getting the hip pointer injury during the playoffs against my Bengals. Marcus Allen was a good running back for him over the years. I remember Howie Long. Like I said, Rich Gannon, of course, gave them the Super Bowl run that, they got destroyed by the Buccaneers that Tony Dungy built. So,
right.
I mean, I know a little bit about the Raiders. John Madden was their coach, and they won. Ray Guy, who passed away earlier this year or within the last few weeks, the best punter probably the only punter that's in the NFL Hall of Fame. I do know that.
Guy, right?
Right. So, I mean, I know a little bit about the Raiders.
And let's not talk about one of the hardest hitting safeties who ever played the game, Jack Tatum, who basically made himself deaf from hitting people so hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember watching highlights of him and reading about him when I was a kid. I mean, this has nothing to do with football, but I always read. That's why I was big into sports. My mom said she remembered me laying on the floor reading the sports pages at between 3 to 5 years of age, reading sports stats and everything else and memorizing them. Whether it be, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever,
ProFootballChase.com did an interview with Mark Davis, and he said he supports Josh McDaniels and the vision he has going forward. My only question is why? Because he's done absolutely nothing this season. The team looks lethargic, like they're not even inspired to play.
Right. Do you have any comments, Thor?
And my dad says, I haven't heard anything about what you're talking about. And Brian Roy says, hi, guys.
Hello.
The next thing is Park Frazier, a first-time OC whose only OC experience came at a high school when Jeff Saturday was coaching it. And Jeff Saturday called a great game Sunday and beat the Raiders. Is it because they called a great game, or are the Raiders really that bad?
They're that bad. I mean, there's only one opinion, but I just really believe they're that bad.
I
I mean,
I just don't get it.
I don't understand from last year playing in the
They made it to the
divisional
playoffs.
round. Yeah, and in the Bengals, I mean, the Raiders had chances in that game against the Bengals. So I just don't know, Jeremy. I don't understand what's happening, what has happened in a year. I know, I understand. Usually, the teams that go to the Super Bowl don't ever go back the next year, but it's
There's always
you know,
four teams that get bounced from the playoffs from the previous year and four teams that come back. I don't know if we're going to see four teams come back to the
I don't
playoffs.
I don't see it either. I mean, right
It's
now,
looking like on both sides, we're going to have six new teams on each side.
well, I mean, if the playoffs ended today, the last stat I saw, I could be wrong, but right now, if the playoffs ended today, the only teams in the AFC, you would have everybody in the AFC East and the Baltimore Ravens, and then of course the Chiefs.
Right. And that's it.
That's it. So you'd have the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the
And the
Ravens.
Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's crazy.
No, because the Titans are leading their division.
Well, yeah, the Titans.
They'll get in.
But
They'll
I mean,
get in. So it'd be New England Patriots would be the odd men out.
yeah, okay, that's true. I always forget about the Titans. Even though I live here, I'm not. My wife's a Titans fan. I loved the Titans when they first moved here, and they had McNair, George, Wycheck, the Freak, Javon Curse. I was kind of rooting for them then, but being a Bengals fan, it's hard to root for the team that used to be the Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still consider them the original. Well, they are the original Oilers because Bud brought that franchise with him. That's why the Texans couldn't be the Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But Houston reserved the rights to that name, but that was actually owned by Bud.
Right.
And so unless Bud gets the team back and he's dead,
yeah, exactly.
they can't
Amy
be the
Adams.
Oilers.
Right.
That being said, the last one, this hurts a lot of fantasy football teams, including mine that was in first place till he got hurt. Cooper Kupp went to the IR and expected to miss a minimum of 4 weeks.
He's on my team. I can be honest with you. Last season, I've been in a fantasy league for a long time with some buddies of mine that are living up in Wisconsin and other states. One of my buddies that lives in Wisconsin is a Bengals fan, just like I am. I won the fantasy championship last year for the first time in 6 years.
And a lot on the coattails of Cooper Kupp.
And no, I mean, I didn't have Cooper Kupp last year, but I can't remember how I won it. But I mean, I'm 2-8 this year, and he just sent me a trade today. He's been wanting Burrow the whole season, so he gave me Brady and Mike Evans for Joe Burrow,
and they're both off this week.
But I took them because my backup was Garoppolo.
And here's a crazy stat about Garoppolo that most people don't know. When he does not throw a touchdown pass, the 49ers are 10-2.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that makes no sense whatsoever.
No.
In a passing league, if he throws no touchdowns, they win 90% of their games.
It's my wife.
Hello.
She had to get her purse to go get dinner. So
that's all right.
Thor, go. He's worried about where she's going now, so he don't want me no more.
Well, that being said, we've made it through all the topics tonight already because it's just the two of us bullshitting and having fun.
Yeah.
That being said, it's time to go through the picks.
Oh, yeah. We'll have a good time with that.
Thursday night, we got the Tennessee Titans visiting Green Bay, and I'm sorry, it's an FTP show, and I don't mean the florist. I mean, fuck the Packers. I'm taking Tennessee to win on the road. What do you got?
Yeah, I think they will because that's usually the game they win is the primetime game, especially after Aaron and them had that emotional comeback against the Cowgirls.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the Titans as well.
Kudos to the Packers for making America great again by making Dallas lose.
Exactly. That's the only time I probably use. That's about one of the few times I have nothing. I always back in the day. I can tell you. I know you've been a Lions fan. One of the first times I remember watching the Packers was Don Majkowski, the Magic Man, and of course that was right before Favre come in,
Mm-hmm.
and
So around 85, 86-ish.
yeah, before, like I said, and that was I always kind of liked that guy. I mean, plus I liked Seven, Boomer Esiason, so that kind of tells you. I mean,
So
I had a liking to that guy, but I mean, and of course Reggie White was not there at that time, but eventually, he's one of my favorite. And UT Vols fan, Reggie White's probably the best defensive player outside of Ronnie Lott
and Aaron
that I can
Donald.
recall, and Aaron Donald, and of course the guy I was thinking of the other day. He was a defensive lineman for the Lions, Robert
Porsche,
yeah, and Spielman for the Lions.
Yep.
But anyway.
Then there's Lawrence Taylor, which was a short-lived career, but he was amazing.
Oh, I have a Lawrence Taylor jersey in my closet. So, I mean, just anytime that somebody impresses me, I collect the jerseys. I mean, I had a Sanders jersey for a long time, but it don't fit me no more because it's too big. I've lost a lot of weight since. But anyway. Anyway, let's get to the picks, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Next one. Chicago at Atlanta. Who you got?
Wow. Fields is playing better, and I just don't have a feeling that Mariota. I'm gonna go Bears.
Yeah, I think the Bears win too.
Yeah.
Cleveland at Buffalo. It's easy for me. I'm taking Buffalo. Who you got?
Yeah, because I can't stand the Brownies, but so I'll go with Buffalo.
The only thing the Browns can do convincingly is beat the Bengals, unfortunately.
I know. I'm sitting there.
They've won 8 of the last 9.
I know. Unfortunately, and before that, I can remember the '80s when they had Bernie Kosar and all those Webster Slaughter and Byron, Ernest Biner and all those guys, and the Bengals beat them constantly, even when they went to the AFC Championship game. And then now we can't even beat them. But hey.
The Lion King is in the house. Nice to see you, Lion King. Next game on the schedule is Philadelphia at Indianapolis. Who do you got?
Jeff Saturday's going to come up with an awesome I can't even say it with a straight face.
Eagles. I know you can't. Romeo's back. He is back on the 21-day practice thing. He's not scheduled to play yet.
Right. But I'll go Eagles.
And Brian Roy says Philly on that one. And I agree. It's Philly all the way. New York Jets at New England. I think this is the revenge game for the Jets because New England went to the Jets and beat them there. I think the Jets win this one because they're playing really good and New England's kind of floundering. Where are you at, Shannon?
Yeah, I agree. The best thing the Patriots have is their defense, and that's a lot of teams right now. But I would go, Jets.
And then you got the L.A. Cooper Cupless Rams traveling 3 time zones east to play the New Orleans Saints.
I still go Rams.
I'm taking New Orleans.
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe is the Red Rifle the quarterback or?
Yeah, the beige water pistol. He's still the quarterback.
Okay, so I'm sitting there, and Alvin Kamara is probably the best weapon they have, and they've been trying to get rid of him, and he don't want to go nowhere else but there is what he said. So
right,
I don't know.
They were trying to get rid of him just to see if they could get somebody, and we all knew they weren't really looking unless they were getting like a fleece from somebody.
Right. Absolutely.
And Brian Roy agrees with New Orleans because the Rams are trash this year, and that makes that pick all the better. My dad says the Rams.
I'm agreeing with your dad then.
All right. And Lion King says the Rams are tanking. Yeah, because they need somebody to replace Cooper Kupp and Stafford now because they're both are injured and look like crap.
I agree with that, but I just went with the Rams anyway.
Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Baltimore Ravens, and I know you'd hate. What do you got, Shannon?
I hate the Ravens, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I just can't see the Panthers doing anything. I'd
I
love
got
them to, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
I chose the Ravens as well. What do you guys say in the comments? My dad says Ravens.
Unfortunately,
Roy says Baltimore.
yeah.
Next up, we got the Commanders at the Houston Texans. Is anybody taking the Texans?
No, the command skins, as some of
The
the guys have
commies.
said.
The commies.
Yeah, it's amazing. But Ron Rivera is a really good coach, and he has a good staff. It just really surprises me. I think it's just because of the ownership, and eventually Snyder won't have them, and maybe they'll get better. Because I have an uncle that was a hardcore Washington fan back in the Joe Gibbs era. So that's why I'm going with the command skins.
And this is probably the first time I'm going to say this all season. We got the Las Vegas Raiders going in to play the Denver Broncos. And yes, it's in Denver, but I just got a feeling Josh McDaniels is going to right the ship this one game and try to save his ass. I'm taking the Raiders because I have as much faith in Russell Wilson and the Broncos as the Lions going to the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I mean, Jeremy, I watched. I'm going to go with the Raiders too, but even without their was it the guy was it Stubbs, the guy they traded to the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
They look, which I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing because the Titans offense without if Derrick Henry goes down, the Titans aren't even a playoff team.
Right.
So I'm like you said, I'll go with the Raiders, but whatever.
All right. Next up, we got the Cowboys traveling to Minnesota. That's
Vikings.
a back-to-back long distance, and they didn't do well in Lambeau. I think the Vikings win it.
I agree. I kind of pray that the Vikings, with everything going on, I hope in the NFC, I hope the Vikings can come out of the NFC and just go to the Super Bowl and have a chance to win one. I don't know that they will.
This next game was one of the hardest ones to pick because I'm skipping our two teams.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's our baby German Shepherd. She's feeding, and I don't know where my puppy is. I think that's why she's barking. But anyway, I'll shut the door real quick. All right.
Well, the next game was a hard one for me to pick, and that's the Sunday night game. That's Kansas City at L.A. And the only reason why it's hard to pick is because Kansas City hasn't done as well on the road as they've done at home. But yet the Chargers seem to be hapless. They're getting injured all the time, and they can't seem to close out games when they do get a lead.
Yeah.
So kind of like the Raiders. Their fourth quarter defense has been abysmal.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm taking Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeremy.
And Brian Roy does too. He says KC, and my dad says the Chiefs. And then Monday Night Football, we got the San Francisco 49ers going on to take the Kingsbury Collapse Cardinals.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Niners.
I'm with the Niners as well. Now we're to your game, which this is also a hard one too, because Bengals haven't traveled well.
No, they haven't.
But Pittsburgh hasn't defended home well except last week.
And the Bengals also lost and looked terrible in week 1 against the Steelers. So I'm expecting a better turnout. And so I'm hoping I'm going to go with my Bengals just because they need this. So I'm going to go Bengals.
I like the Bengals defense too. And I flipped the coin and I got Bengals.
Yeah. I'm praying it's the Bengals because the next week I think we got the Titans and my wife's got us tickets and I got to sit in all them Titans fans. So,
oh boy. Oh boy.
So I want us to be at least 6-4 going into that game. And, but anyway.
And the last game to call, And we got a shot. Is Detroit at New York? The only thing that scares me about this game, New York is playing really good defense and they run the ball really well. That being said, our defense has finally started to come around and start playing well. And we're running the ball decent and we're sticking with it. Ooh, Lion King says Detroit, New York 42 over the New York Giants. My dad says the Giants. Brian Roy says Lions. I just got this feeling that we're on an uptick and we're on a win streak. And didn't the Giants just lose one?
I believe so. I believe they did.
They don't have any. They don't have any wide receivers, but they've been running on winning on the ground game.
Well, it's a good thing because their running back. I mean, that's why they drafted him when they did. And if he would have stayed healthy, there's been a few years prior to this one. If he'd have been healthy, they'd have probably been a pretty good team.
Right.
And I'm because being a Bengals fan and long suffering, not winning the Super Bowl, I'm gonna go with the Lions because I'd like to see y'all finish out the year. I like Dan Campbell, but I just don't know. But I hope. I don't know, since Wayne Fonts, I don't know that y'all have ever had a coach besides Caldwell that was even that
remotely
good.
A players. Well, Caldwell,
right.
He was a great regular season coach. He just couldn't get it done in the playoffs.
No, right. I agree. Yeah, that's true. Kind of like Marvin Lewis.
New York Giants, smoke and mirrors, 7-2. It may be smoke and mirrors, but they run the ball great, which has been the downfall of our defense is when teams run the ball well.
Bradley. Saquon Barkley, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a great running back at Penn State. So anyway.
I'm still going to pick our Lions.
Yeah, I went with you too, Jeremy.
Because that is the key to the game. Brian Roy said it right there. You stop Barkley, then we have a decent chance.
Right.
That being said, on the Lions front, the good news is Jamison Williams, DJ Shark, and Romeo Okwara are all on the 21-day practice squad, and it's trending for JMO to play against Jacksonville after the Thanksgiving game. Which, against them, I think we need them.
Right. Well, who did Jamison Williams? Who was he with before y'all?
Alabama. We drafted him.
Oh, y'all drafted him. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you, if he was healthy, if he would have been healthy for Bama, I think Bama would have probably.
Bama was healthy. He got hurt in the national championship.
But wasn't that the one that Georgia beat him?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. If he would have been healthy in that game, Bama wins that one. In my opinion, and I'm a Tennessee fan, so if that tells you anything.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Dan Campbell addressed that today. He said he might even be ready to go at the Thanksgiving game, but he's looking more like the week after.
Right.
And that's just being careful with somebody who had a major injury and surgery back in January, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for viewer-driven content. If you guys got any questions, shoot them.
I think. What? Okay. Last year the Bengals were 5-4, like they were this year at the midway point. And I've looked at their schedule. They start out Steelers, Titans. They've got to still play the Ravens and the Browns. They got to play the Bills, the Chiefs. Honestly, somebody that's just neutral, that's a Lions fan, what's the best outcome you see them do in the last half of the season?
Right now, with the way you guys are playing, because he's still rehabbing from that ankle and he hasn't learned the playbook yet because he hasn't been able to practice with the team. So they want to give him this week and next week to learn the playbook. Next week is Thanksgiving. It's only 10 days away. You don't want to rush him back.
Right.
But Shark may be back for that game, which will help too, because when he was on the field, this team was electric offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he wasn't a factor in it. He was the DK.
Right.
Is Shark playing in New York? No. He just returned to practice this week. He's limited all week. But it is what it is.
Right.
Granted, we finally got back to a semi-explosive offense last week without him.
Right.
We put up 31 points.
Yeah, I mean, and y'all were down against the Bears, and I mean, the only thing that had going for them was their quarterback that I saw in the highlights and stuff. I mean, just the way he's
Herbert and Montgomery didn't run all over us like they did last season.
No, exactly. I mean, it was Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, but yeah, like I said, in the AFC playoff situation right now, I believe in the last 8-9 games, let's see, they have 5-9, 5-4, so there's 9. So they play 17 now. So they got 8 games left.
Games.
If the Bengals can go
4-4,
4-4, I think they're a wild card.
Right.
And who knows from that point on.
That's pretty much where I have them at, is at 4-4.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of those losses are more than likely the Browns, because they just seem to have your number.
They do. I mean, they come to Cincy, but like I said, I don't worry about, like I said last year, the Bengals were 4-2. They swept the Ravens and Steelers and got swept by the Browns. And then Browns fans still talk shit. And I'm like, did y'all do anything besides beat us twice?
I said, other than the fact that the Browns have a better record against the Bengals, they haven't had a better team record.
No, they haven't. So, I mean,
since Burrow's been starting.
Right. Absolutely.
And, and this year, they could very well come back and win the division, because guess who plays the week after Thanksgiving against Houston? Deshaun Watson.
Yep. And I mean, it was funny as today or yesterday, somebody posted.
Lion King, he's not going to be a decoy in Thanksgiving. They're not playing him. He's not trending to play in Thanksgiving. That's what it all boils down to. If you listen to Dan Campbell's presser, that's what you'd know. And yes, a decoy does need to know plays. He needs to know the snap counts. He needs to know the rhythm and the cadence of the quarterback. He needs to be on the same page, even to be a decoy.
Right. So are y'all playing? Okay, you're not playing Dallas this year on Thanksgiving, right?
No, we already played Dallas.
That's right. So y'all were playing
the Buffalo Bills.
That's right. Well, I'll be a hardcore line. I'll be a hardcore line.
How much more do you expect them to utilize Khalif Raymond? They've been utilizing him a lot because we don't have Shark. We don't have J-Mo. So he is our speed threat right now. And Josh Reynolds isn't 100% yet either.
Khalif Raymond, former Titan.
Mm-hmm. And former return man for you.
Yeah. So, like I said, us being in the Cat family, I always kind of, since Barry Sanders, I've always kind of rooted for the Lions outside of not having them as my team. But, just because I can remember Herman Moore and Pete Mitchell, there was times y'all should have been better than what you were.
I mean, just look at our last 3 years in progression. Even though we won 5 games in 2020, the one game we won just because we fired our head coach out of spite for him.
Right.
Because we lost that blowout to the Texans, like 45 to whatever. And then we turned around and beat the Bears the next day. Thanks for popping in, Keegan Eckert.
Yeah.
And yep, Big Dan, I know. That's what I've been trying to say. I wouldn't bring him back to be a decoy because that's a good defense. That Buffalo defense is a good defense, and the last thing you want to do is get him hurt again.
Right.
I would rather start him out
Absolutely.
against the Jags to get his feet wet and game reps then, so he's ready to go up against the slightly better defense, which isn't great because Vikings have been getting by on smoke and mirrors too. If you look at their
They,
one-loss record,
yeah, I'm on. And the thing of it was is I watched that Vikings Bills game. Actually, I remember looking at the score and I saw they were down. Was it 30-17?
mm-hmm.
And I turned it over and they were tied up, and I'm like, what? Which I mean, they have. I mean, Justin Jefferson is, and Adam Thielen, and then Dalvin Cook.
And I don't care what anybody says. This year, Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league.
Oh, I agree. I'm not going to argue with you about that. So, I mean,
I'm so happy I got his signed mini helmet.
yeah.
That's going to be worth something someday.
Oh, I mean, the LSU has some
talented wide receivers.
Talented wide receivers. I mean, even with Chase, and I'm seeing now that Jamar might come back by the Titans game. But honestly, if the Bengals are not playing for a chance to get to the playoffs, I'd rather just set him to the KC game.
Or sit him until next season if you're not going to be in the playoffs.
If you're not going to be in the playoffs, set him the next season. And who knows?
Brian Roy agrees with me.
I mean, I'm not going to argue because I love having, and if the other guys have stepped up, I don't understand.
I mean, they have, but they haven't. It seems like when JMO is on the field, he gets most of his stuff in big plays.
Yeah, he does.
Whether it be run after the catch or a deep pass where he just out jumps somebody for it, and then everybody else gets to clean up underneath.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at Justin Jefferson. I was sitting there watching that game. They both have similar styles. Jefferson's taller and more lengthy. That one catch he made, like right at the goal line there.
Oh, that catch he made last night with one arm over the defender, where he snatched it out of the defender's hands.
Yeah,
you don't see catches like that every day.
No, I mean,
that's why I put him as the best one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that. I mean,
the Lions game. The New York Giants are a +3.5 with a 7-2 record at home is upset alert. I get it. I agreed. I took Detroit.
I did too.
Because momentum is on our side.
Right.
Momentum is huge. I love Dan Leonard, and I love how happy he is. And yes, Brian Daboll is an excellent coach, and he's done wonderful things with this team. He made Danny Dimes not look like the mechanic-less QB he was the last 2 seasons. He's actually looking decent.
Well, I mean, he helped Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he made him a better quarterback. So, I mean, and he come from Alabama, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Keegan Eckert says the Vikings will make one playoff and win one game and lose. Yeah, and that'll make that 4th round become a 5th round pick, conditional pick.
Yeah, I just go back. Yeah.
That's the condition. And the only thing I got to say about the TJ Hockenson trade and how it looks better for the Lions, all 3 of our tight ends have scored a touchdown in the past 2 weeks, and TJ Hockenson, who hasn't scored one for Minnesota.
Well, I think he's opened up everything for everybody else. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I turned the last little bit of the Buffalo Vikings games. I can't say nothing. I was surprised that y'all traded him, but I wasn't, because wouldn't he do a lot of money at the end of this season, Hockenson?
We picked up his 5th-year option, so we weren't going to re-sign him for big money. We tried to re-sign him for what he was worth because he was putting out 15th tight end production.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he wanted top 5 tight end money.
No.
And we weren't doing it. So at that point, it's trade him away, let them take the 5th-year option and sign him to an extension.
Yeah, I agree.
And if they sign him to the extension, we'll get comp picks in 2024 for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like when we let Uzama go to the Jets.
The only round we do not have a pick in is the 4th round right now because of the Hockenson trade. But we got 2 firsts, 2 second, a 3rd, a 5th, a 6th, And I believe we don't have. We have 2 6th and no 7th.
Right. But I mean, I'm going to ask you this question. I know you said there's questions out there, and since we're the only two in the chat, and since we talk about you've talked about fantasy football, with me being 2-8, did you think, even though with Bucks being off, the Brady Mike Evans for just Burrow was a decent trade just for me to finish out the year? I mean, because I ain't going nowhere in my fantasy league.
Damn, I was hoping we would get comp picks for him.
In fantasy league, unfortunately, and then this year the price went up from 75 to 100 for each team, and now I'm defending champion at 2-8. So I was like, okay, hell. And the dude's
You know what you do? Whoever
that?
you like out of the other guys, you help his team.
I did, and he's the guy I like, so I gave him Burrow, and I took
Brady and Evans.
Brady and Evans. So that's what I did.
So you had to drop a scrub to keep Evans, right?
Yes, I did.
I would too.
Yes. So, and I mean, I'm going to be in the consolation rounds in the playoffs, so I don't care.
Oh, he goes, you could be correct, man. The source was iffy on that. Yeah, because we developed him. This was his 4th season for TJ Hawkinson. Next year is his 5th. Right. Comp picks are because if you develop a player, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
And by Aubrey Pleasant being signed this season by the Packers as an assistant coach already, we may get a comp pick for that.
Yeah.
Because it's a minority coach.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that is what it's for, correct? Is that not what that whole rule was written about?
I believe it is.
Because he was an assistant who got let go, so he's an assistant who gets hired by the Pack.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, that's because they got that beast of a rookie that if he played for any other team, he'd be talked about for Rookie of the Year. Dameon Pierce, that running back is a badass.
Oh, yeah.
King SJ says, what's going on, guys? Well, I said we went through the Pick Ems. We talked about the top 3 NFL stories I could pick out. Now we're just talking about the Lions because, I am a Lions show.
Well, yeah, you are a Lions show, and I
don't mind talking about the Bengals. Like I said, I think your record going forward will probably be more like 4-4, at worst 3-5.
Yeah, I was hoping 5-3, 4-4 at worst.
But, I know, but
I know you're real. You're being real. I mean, and that's what I appreciate. That's why I asked you what I asked you earlier. I'd rather hear. I mean, because I got them Bengals shaded glasses on.
Keegan Eckert, he is a Bengals fan.
So yes, in Tennessee. I know you're like, really?
Yeah, I know. No.
Well, I mean, the Titans
DC
were only
8091. He goes, fucking A right. DC repping trivia tonight. Yeah, I like to do trivia nights too, but since I've been doing the podcast, I don't play pool hardly anymore. I don't do any of that stuff. I talk football.
Yeah, and I love playing pool. I love to go bowling. I love to do a lot of things, but now that I'm married and got a big household, since you invited me to do this, Jeremy, this is like, I told my wife, I said, Wednesday night at 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern Central Time.
Brian Roy, the one thing I do like is that this is a very deep defensive tackle draft versus what we had last year, which was a very deep DN draft, an outside linebacker draft. It's deeper at the middle linebacker too, as long as you get one in the first 3 rounds. So yeah, I agree. Safety and corner. The only corner I really like is Joey Porter Jr. I think he's the best corner in college football right now. And the only reason why he missed last week's game, it was not an injury. He had an appendicitis attack where it almost ruptured and it had to be removed.
He had a Joe Burrow situation.
Right. And you see, Joe Burrow didn't look bad when he came back throwing. I'm not wrong.
No, he didn't look.
He didn't look bad.
He had a bad first half.
He had a bad first start because the O-line wasn't protecting him. It wasn't because he was throwing the ball bad.
Yeah, that I don't understand what's going on with that. And I mean, do y'all? I'm not gonna get into that because I do the talk lines or anything else because anytime I talk Bengals, I get frustrated.
Okay, I haven't played that yet, Brian Roy, but I do understand the premise of it. You either have to kick 3 rails and make contact with the ball, or after making contact, the cue ball has to travel 3 rails for 3 cushion billiards. Is that correct?
I believe so. I mean, it's been a long. I mean, usually I'll be honest with
It's
you
been
guys. I'm a
years since
bull.
I've seen the game. I think the last time I saw it was when Minnesota Fats was with Walt Disney, and they drew in Donald Duck to play 3 cushion billiards with Minnesota Fats.
One of the last.
He goes, yes, or more rails. So yeah, that was it.
Well, I love watching pool on ESPN. One of my favorites is the young
Oh,
lady Black Widow that has
Keegan
the
Eckerd.
trick shot.
The last mock I saw at 8, we got Ringo, and at 11 they took Michael Murphy from Notre Dame, the damn tight end. And I was like, a tight end in the first round? No more tight ends in the first round. He goes, Donald Duck. If you want a true hand in the dirt, DE, OLB is decently deep. Running back is the deepest class, and the DT is deep. The DE is paper thin. Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's Will Anderson and what is it, Miles Murphy of Clemson. That's the best ones. And after that, it kind of drops off quick for the defensive ends. D tackle, you got Jalen Carter. You got a lot of guys at D tackle that are decent. And, even in the late second, early third, you could get a guy like the guy out of Baylor, that Saika Ika. I think his name is Saika Ika, right? The kid out of Baylor.
I'm hoping they can pull it off against TCU and help my Vols out this weekend.
Believe it or not, the Lions, believe it or not, are 15th in adjusted run defense, EPA, and new metrics. I know, because the running backs aren't scoring a lot. The quarterbacks are. So if you take the quarterback yardage and scores away, running defense, we're not that bad against actual running backs. Keegan Eckerd, the edge guy from Texas A&M, is Tyree Wilson. He's actually pretty good.
Well, as terrible as A&M's played lately, it's hard to notice that, though.
Yep. But I still say Joey Porter Jr. is the best corner in this draft, period. And Keely Ringo, yeah, he isn't a top 5 college DB. He's been getting burned a lot for Georgia. He gives up a lot of big plays. Yes, he gets the INT every now and then. I've equated his game to somewhere between Trayvon Diggs for the last 2 years or Eli Apple.
Well, I mean, he looked good against Tennessee, but I hate to even go to that.
But he actually didn't look that good against Tennessee because Cedric Tillman was torching him. He just didn't get touchdowns.
Well, that's true.
It was the safeties that stopped him more than it was Ringo.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Ringo he had 1 pick in that game, so that's what I keep seeing in my head. Plus, it was a terrible, well, obviously the worst performance by the Vols on offense this year. So I'm just getting tired of the thing. I know this is in a college chat right now, but a lot of media is bitching about the last 2 touchdowns the Vols scored, and I'm like, look, I mean, they're just trying to do what they're trying to do to get to the playoffs. And who would have thought before the season started my Vols would even be in playoff conversation? I'd been this year, Jeremy, if the Vols would have went 9-3, 10-2, I'd have been elated. But anyway, I'm happy where they're at now, though.
Let's
I'll
see,
take that.
Barkley is going to be a huge test for our run defense this weekend. I said that too. I just thanks, Dad. And Keegan Ecker says, if we were to draft a tight end, would you take Dalton Kincaid in the later rounds? There's another one I got like that I've been taking. He's 6'7". Is that Dalton Kincaid? Does he play for Georgia? Is that the guy?
Of that. No, the guy from Georgia's he's number 0, and he's like 6'7".
Yeah, that's the guy I like.
Yeah, that's the one you like. Yeah, but that's the guy I would get just because of his height and everything. I don't think is his name Kincaid. I don't think it is. But anyway, I should know. But he just seems like he's like an extra lineman. But he's athletic, and so anyway, I'm trying to think of his name. That makes me mad. Being an SEC fan, you'd think I'd know it. I know he wears number 0.
I'll look it up in a second because I've been doing PFN mock drafts a lot. So all I got to do is look it up. Give me a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not. I know it's not Kincaid, but he's a. I mean, and I can tell you this: the defensive. I think it's the nose tackle for Georgia, number 96. Logue. He went to my alma mater high school, Lebanon High School here in Tennessee. He signed to Georgia, and he's been playing pretty good. Thor.
Yeah, Darnell Washington. That's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yep. He's a big dude.
Oh, look at that. The Bengals want to move up to 8. Just because I got in the draft. Oh, what the hell? They're giving me 18, 48, 149, and next year's first. I'll do it. You give me all that, I'll take it.
So the Bengals wanting to move up to 8, huh?
Yeah. And they took Michael Murphy, the guy out of Notre Dame.
Oh my God.
Well, Njoku is bad. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got Hayden Hurst, and then, I mean, we haven't really had it. I'm trying to think the last really good tight end the Bengals had.
That being said, I do have a meeting with my publisher tonight.
Oh, yeah, well, hope everything goes well.
Yep, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking draft and Lions football and everything else. Go Lions, one pride. You got any parting thoughts for us, Shannon?
Come on, Bengals. Let's kick the Steelers' ass. That's all I got to say.
All right. And mine is exactly what I always say every time. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. You're coming in right at the end, Chris.
Man, I'll try to hurry up and get here so I can get on.
I know. What do you have to say about what's coming up this weekend between the Lions and Giants?
All I'm going to say is it's not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. I said the Lions can win. Will they is another story. I'm still picking them to win because that's my team.
Yeah, and you know I'm with you. I 100% agree. I mean, it's my team too, but we got a challenge ahead of us. And you know me, I'm going to be real about it. I mean, like I say, I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid, but I'm just going to say it's a possible. I hope we come out with the W.
DC, there's no after chat tonight. I got a meeting with my publisher here shortly. That's why I kind of had to cut it short. But what I will say is the same thing I say at the end of every show. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before because it's the only way to make the world a better place. This has been Kneecap Biting with Smokin' Jeremy B. Thank you to Shannon, Bengals fan coming in, and Chris Smith. Better late than never. You got to say something anyways. Thank you for coming in as a Lions fan. Y'all have a blessed day, and thank you for watching.
All right.
And
see you next week.